A win, and not just a win, but a blowout where Miami took control in the second half and dominated offensively. I don't know what to do with my hands. We break down the game on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Have a great show for you today. We're handing out credit cookies. We're taking a closer look at Erik Spoelstra's rotation decisions. But first, before we jump in, a reminder that the next Locked On Heat watch party is this Friday at the Taurus in Coconut Grove for the Heat's game against the Pacers. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. Come watch the game with us. Hang out, take advantage of an extended happy hour, signature cocktails, great food. One thing I haven't mentioned when talking about this watch party, David, did you have the cheeseburger last time?
I didn't.
So, that's right, you're a vegetarian. I always forget that. It might have been the single greatest bite of a cheeseburger I think I've ever had.
Wow.
Because we were being pulled in so many different directions. We had so many people show up and want to talk to us, and it was amazing. But I halfway through the watch party, it was Heat Rockets. Halfway through the Rockets game, I realized, I haven't eaten anything since lunch. So I ordered a burger. I took one bite of it, and I have no idea what happened to that burger since. But I've been dreaming of that burger ever since. So I'm really excited to chase
Something
that
to
dragon on Friday night. Yeah, exactly. But we were recording this Wednesday night after an impressive Heat win over the Hawks, a comfortable Heat win. It feels like the first one in a long time, David, and it was tangible how badly the Heat needed this one.
It was fantastic. It seemed like Miami, something clicked for this team in the second half. And not only did they shoot incredibly well and everything else in the second half, and we'll talk about the details of it later on, but they almost remembered exactly how to win. And it's so important for a team like this because you just get stuck in the doldrums and you get stuck in your own head and you keep losing these games where you're blowing double-digit leads or you're relinquishing a lead in the fourth quarter. And it just eats at you because it's almost like we know we're better than this. And this team is better than what they've shown of late. But it's almost the exact opposite what we saw tonight in Atlanta, not just from the previous Hawks game, but just in general over the last few weeks, where they remembered how to win, how to play defense at a high level, how to knock down shots, how to move the ball, how to get the spacing that they needed to get those open looks. It was so refreshing to see this team flip the switch and be able to, again, remember how to win a game in crucial moments there. When it looked like Atlanta was pulling away midway through the third quarter, they had a little bit of a lead. And then Miami just said, no, this is it. This is not what we do anymore. That's not who we are. And it was a fantastic victory.
So just a quick rundown of the highlights in this one. Bam played despite being listed as questionable with a calf injury. He got the start. We got hit with Highsmith minutes, and he made an immediate impact on both ends. Duncan Robinson, he looked like Duncan Robinson again, making a bunch of three-pointers. Davion Mitchell tied his career high with 5 made three-pointers. The Heat overall, 23 made three-pointers in this game. Could not have been more different than Monday night in Atlanta. Maybe this is just reversion to the mean or what have you, but the Heat really needed this one. But most importantly, David, they went into the fourth quarter with a 14-point lead and did not blow it. They didn't blow a double-digit fourth-quarter lead. And if anything, they extended their lead in the fourth quarter, and we ended up getting a Pelle Larsson victory cigar in the end. And the Heat get their first comfortable win since January 25th in Brooklyn. It has been more than a month. It's been a month since the Heat had just a comfortable win. And this team not only was in dire straits and in need of a real win, any win, right? Beggars can't be, any win would have been fine. But I really thought they needed a comfortable win. Something, to your point, David, to prove, we could still do this. We can win with this new team. And there is, I think, a muscle memory to winning. A muscle memory to making those little plays that everybody always talks about, the big offensive rebound, the whatever it is. There was a series that Erik Spoelstra talked about, and you don't really ever hear Spo point out like a specific series or series of plays in his post-game press conferences. Yeah. And he went out of his way to highlight a a stretch in, I think it was the second quarter. It was the second quarter, he said, that they gave up 2 backdoor cuts and then 2 offensive rebounds.
Right.
And then they call a timeout. And he said, I don't know why that didn't it was happening in the first half, and then it wasn't happening in the second half. And Spo just said that what he told the team in the locker room was, because it was tied at 65 at halftime, this game.
Sure.
He said, whatever defense kind of locks in, because it was a fun first half going back and forth. Both teams on pace to score 130 points. Again, very different than the Monday night slog.
Right.
But he said, whatever team kind of locks in defensively, that's going to be the team that wins this game. And I guess that was enough for the Heat to just remember to play defense. It is strange to try to figure out what clicked in that second half, but they were putting it all together. So
we've talked about it before, the connection between the defense and the offense. But offensively, though, they were fantastic in the second half. They were 60% shooting overall from the field, 21 of 35, and 12 of 23, almost 52% from 3-point range. A huge difference from what we've seen over the past few weeks, where they just get how to score in the second half. This was them playing defense at a high level, igniting their fast break opportunities, not letting the defense settle and be able to guard shots and just be able to swing the ball in the right way so that they could get open looks. 21 assists on those made field goals. Wait a minute, that can't be right. 21 assists in the second half. In the second half,
39
so all their
assists
field goals
on 45 makes for the game. Yeah.
So all their field goals were assisted in the second half. I didn't even realize I was pointing out the stats. So that was just them being able to find each other. They were cutting backdoor cuts. You saw Duncan wide open, putting up some incredible shots in that second half. He was phenomenal. Just a great game from him overall.
Duncan had the right hand going on those slips and things like that. And not just the assists to the basket, multiple passes on single possessions too. And that's the thing that really stuck out to me. That ball was just popping all around. And, after the game, the Spoelstra and the players all said, these were very similar to the looks that we got Monday night in Atlanta. We were just making them this time. I don't know. I even asked Erik Spoelstra. I was like, it looked like Duncan and Tyler Herro were getting off cleaner looks. And I went back and I rewatched the first Hawks game. I was like, Tyler Herro was taking a lot of shots from 29 feet out because he had to. And Duncan Robinson had a guy on his right shoulder almost every time he came around a screen. And it didn't feel that way in this game. And I asked Erik Spoelstra, I'm like, what did you do to kind of get the cleaner looks? Did you notice that? And he goes, you sure about that? So he didn't think the looks were even that much better. He was convinced that they did get a lot of good open looks in that first game in Atlanta. And maybe all of this is just anecdotal and I just noticed a few different ones. And maybe I'm just playing the results a little bit and they look a little bit better. But I thought Duncan Robinson got a few open looks that he did not get in that first game in Atlanta. But maybe it's as simple as this Hawks defense stinks and it's stunk all season. And the Heat, they kind of reverted to the mean, right? Like if you shoot 17% and you're averaging about 36% shooting overall for the season, you shoot 17% in one game and we're just playing like what the law of averages are. Yeah, you probably shoot 55% from three the next game, and then you kind of meet somewhere in the middle in an average.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with Spo's analysis, but again, maybe it was just something in the way that we were watching.
I got Spo to say F it.
Good for him.
And he said F it. I'm not doing the PG version. He said F it. He goes, look, we got the same shots. I told the team, F it, let it fly. And I was like, all right, cool. Spo, a little fired up. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm glad to hear that. But I disagree. I think a lot of the looks were a little bit cleaner, a little bit more open. I think, Davion Mitchell, when he was on his heater there, like he had some pretty wide open looks. They were kicking the ball to him and finding him and along the wing there, and he was able to knock those down. Duncan, again, to your point, I think those were good looks. Bam had a couple baseline jumpers. He looked like he was, scoring positively. I disagree that a lot of the looks were the same. I think it was a little bit different. And I think, better. Again, it was the combination of better defense and then being able to move the ball very effectively to be able to generate those looks and to be able to knock them down, which is ultimately what boils down.
Do you still have the second half stats in front of you?
I do.
What did Atlanta shoot in the second half?
42%, 41.5% specifically. 25% from 3, 4 of 16.
Yeah. So look, I go back to what I've been saying. I think this version of this Heat team, I think the offense feeds the defense. I think we saw that again. I think we saw the bad version of that, one side of the coin on Monday night, and I think we saw the good side of that coin in this game. But David, You know what
Oh,
time it is?
I do.
Oh
It's
man.
this appliance. I don't even know what it does anymore.
What you put cookies in an oven?
Huh.
Preheat the oven,
Awesome.
David. Preheat the oven. Put that baby on 350. Get the sheet pan out. Credit cookies coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get it than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on fourth quarter comeback, not necessary tonight, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. It's so fun to use FanDuel's live betting feature. It keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether you're backing your team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch free, I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We'll be right back.
Cookie guy, cookie guy, cookie guy, cookie guy. Stack them high like a cookie chain. Sharing with friends, spreading the fame.
Sounds vaguely familiar, but it's been a while since I've heard it played. Getting a hint of nostalgia and playing the song here. Good to be able to play the cookie song. I mean, we're back. We're back making cookies, giving cookies out, relishing in a big Heat victory.
We are
and tonight,
back.
yeah,
Cookie gang. Just want to let's tip off this segment with a quick reminder. Your favorite NBA team is a free daily newsletter introducing the Locked On Heat newsletter, one stop for ultimate Heat and league coverage with local analysis, amazing writing from Katie Heindel, Mike Shearer, Locked On Fantasy Basketball tips from Josh Lloyd. Celebrate a Heat win by signing up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. David, this is how this segment works. We have 10 credit cookies. We hand out those credit cookies to the various players deserving of those cookies. We only have 10. We do not have bonus cookies. We cannot split up these cookies. I'm reminding everybody of the rules here because the last credit cookie segment, January 27th.
Oh.
Isn't that
Where's the
incredible?
All-Star break? Where's the All-Star break? There have been wins that have fallen on weekends. You know, it's
not the last Heat win, but it's the last credit cookie segment, which is really what counts. This is what Heat fans. This is what the Heat fans care about. You know, a Friday night win in Toronto, that's nice and all, but we want the credit cookie segment. Who's getting credit cookies tonight?
I've got a number of players getting credit cookies. Most of the starting lineup, actually. 6 players in total. Start off with Tyler Herro. He had a big game. He gets 2 credit cookies, 24 points, 7 of 16 shooting, 4 of 8 from three-point range, 6 of 7 from the line. He also had 8 assists in the second half, 10 total. Fantastic game from him. He was a real impact player. Quietish night, but also very impactful, making plays for others, getting good looks and knocking those shots down. Phenomenal game for him.
Can I tell you my favorite Tyler play of the game?
Yes. Wearing the headband.
Just off the top of my head.
Yes.
He got to the lane, got through the lane to the rim, and with his right hand just slingshotted a pass to the corner on the opposite side to Bam. And this is when Atlanta was going through a little bit of a series where they're having some success trapping Tyler Herro up high, especially with Dyson Daniels, who has just been a pest in Tyler Herro's side this entire time. And he kind of just got through the trees there and just found Bam on the other end because they were doubling and they were sending help his way. And the recognition to know, I've got Bam on that side and I'm going to find him. And then to whip that ball over 2 or 3 different defenders. Bam ended up missing the shot, but I don't even care. Like, that stuff doesn't matter to me. It's the recognition. It's the pattern reading. It's seeing the pictures. I mean, that was a high-level pass, and that's new for Tyler Herro for this season. So, well-deserving of the 2 cookies.
Absolutely. I've also got Duncan Robinson with 2 credit cookies as well. He had 24 points off the bench, 9 of 16 overall, 6 of 13 from three-point range. Great game from him. Also making plays for others, 6 assists. That's a big number for Duncan. And he was phenomenal. Like, he was just having a big game. But we just said this following the Atlanta loss and talking about what needs to step up and who needs to step up. Niko Jovic out with injury, obviously. Duncan was going to be playing increased minutes. You know he has to get going. He had not had a big game like this in over a month. We talked about this, and he responds with a big game. So maybe he's listening to the show. I wouldn't put it past him.
He might be. Had this wonderful pass to Kel'el Ware on a slip. And I was talking about this in the pregame show, David. It just feels like over the last week or so, opponents have figured out the Kel'el Ware lob. High screen and roll, Ware down the middle of the middle of the lane. He's going to go for the lob. And Atlanta just kept breaking it up in that first game. They even broke it up once in this game. And I was like, they got to figure out a counter, right? This is the scattering reports for the opponents have adjusted to Kel'el Ware. They know what he's about now. What's the counter to that? What's the different ways that they can get Kel'el involved in the offense, and specifically with that lob and by the basket? And we saw them. It was an action at the top, little two-man game. Swings to swings to Ware. Ware hands it off to Duncan. Then they immediately kind of flow into this quick pick and roll, and Ware just slips the screen right away and has a wide open lane to the basket. Little side pick and roll action. Just a different look, right? Essentially the same thing. It's still a pick and roll with the ball handler and Ware going to the basket, but different trigger, different look. Just to throw the Hawks defense off a little bit. That's something that wasn't in the scouting report. And so more of that would be good. And Duncan was a big part of that play.
I've also got 2 credit cookies going to Davion Mitchell. He played 37
first
total
credit
minutes.
To Davion, congrats.
20 points overall, 5 of 5 from 3-point range, as you pointed out earlier. Phenomenal moment from him. He just seems to be really stepping up with his 3-point shooting. I don't have the numbers there, but it looks like his 3-point shooting has definitely improved.
Well, it was 100% in this game.
Well, that's a pretty good number to reach. Perhaps not sustainable, but also indicative of the fact that Miami has historically taken poor shooting point guards and helped them turn their shot around. And it certainly seems like he's much more comfortable. He's certainly much more familiar with that role. He doesn't look hesitant at all as a 3-point shooter, attacking the defense as well. But just a great game for him. I've also got 2 credit cookies.
Wait. On the Davion Mitchell point, sorry.
Yes.
Boots on the ground report. Subject is Davion Mitchell.
There we go.
Watching his body language and the way he carries himself in between breaks, timeouts, things like that, he is a point guard. He carries himself like a point guard. Now, the point guarding part of it, it's
work in progress.
Work in progress. Room to improve there. I mean, certainly in this game, he was awesome. But he carries himself like a point guard. And I point that out just because, number one, you don't see that very often, right? A lot of these guys now that are sort of quote-unquote point guards, they're scoring guards. They're they're primary ball handlers. There's probably a better way to put that. But then to see him, and this is the second reason I pointed out, take Kel'el Ware under his wing. It seemed like every single break, Davion Mitchell was talking to Ware at halftime when they're doing their little shoot-around thing, their warm-ups, talking to Kel'el Ware the entire time. I mean, he's really kind of drawn to Kel'el, and that's a partnership that I'm watching. That's traditional point guard, big man. Yep. That's something to watch there.
I like it. I hope it's a thriving partnership for years to come. I've also got 2 credit cookies going to the man who finally got some playing time tonight. 27 minutes for Haywood Highsmith, and he responds with a big shooting night, 4 of 5 from 3-point range, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Just a great overall game from him. So he was definitely a spark plug, and I don't know why he was so effective. Like, I know that the defense is always going to be there. We saw certainly moments of that where he played defense at a high level, although he wound up with just 1 steal. But his ability to switch, pick up guys, and then to be able to knock down that shot from 3-point range, that was such a huge bonus for Miami. And it was great to have him out there and thriving. I know Spo talked about it after the game. He didn't really offer much clarity in terms.
We're going to talk about this later. We got a question about Haywood, but
put a pin in that one then.
Put a pin in it. But came in, made his first 3, was 4 or 5 from 3-point range. Had a huge offensive rebound. I think it was the 4th quarter. Got a big offensive rebound, kicked out. I think he got it to Duncan for an open 3-pointer. Might have been Tyler, but I think it was Duncan. And on the way back to the bench, and that triggered a Hawks timeout. And on the way back to the bench, he was puffing his chest out. Guys were kind of slapping him on the back and things. Like, it was those kinds of things that I notice, and I'm like, that was a big deal for Haywood for some reason. Like those extra little hustle plays, those in between things. He was a plus 31 in this game, man.
Phenomenal.
I mean, it feels like you should get more than 2 credit cookies, but I understand we only have 10. Those are the rules. But based on my math, we have 2 more.
Yes, we do. And one goes to Bam Adebayo, who had a pretty big game overall. 20 points for him. A really solid outing. 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Solid. A block shot. Phenomenal game. You can't give him. I would probably have given him more credit cookies on any other night, but with so many different players stepping up, he only gets 1. And then
he played
the last
35 minutes on a bad calf too. Like it's important to he put it all out there. Injury notwithstanding. Yep.
And then one more credit cookie goes to Andrew Wiggins.
First credit cookie to Wiggins.
And I think he gets it over Khalil. He was a little bit more impactful, mostly because he was able to get to the line. 8 of 10 from free throw range. And that is phenomenal. Like, you talk about the loss of Jimmy Butler and everything he's able to do, but Andrew has been quietly really good over the last few games. The broadcast talked about it a number of times, averaging over 20 points over the last 3 games. Didn't reach that mark today, but still impactful. When you need him to get a bucket, he was there. Getting to the line, that's huge for him. Miami desperately needs somebody to be able to get to the line. And look, I think he's going to thrive here. I really do. I think he's going to continue to grow, and he's not going to be your star player. He's not a star, perhaps, but he's also a guy who can play at a high level and produce, and he's going to be able to be very good with Miami. So I'm curious to see how he continues to develop over the next 25 games of the season. But he gets the last credit cookie.
Produce is the key word there, right? I mean, regardless of what you think about his game aesthetically, even or efficiently, even in Minnesota, what are you kind of going in and out in Golden State a little bit?
Sure.
Just like the bottom of the ledger production has just always been there with him, and 15 points in this game. And you mentioned the 10 free throw attempts. 10 of Miami's 22 free throw attempts. That's Jimmy Butler-esque, isn't it? I mean, I'm not, and I hate to compare, but that is something that people are going to miss when Jimmy Butler leaves. Well, and they're going to miss it. It was a big part of their formula was getting to the line. And when Jimmy is your number one guy getting to the line, you don't have him anymore. Somebody else has to fill that void. And Wiggins has been doing that. And Erik Spoelstra has basically laid out Andrew Wiggins' role as such. Be a downhill player. They want him being downhill. And I think you saw that tonight. Listener questions are next, including, did Erik Spoelstra finally make the right decision by playing Haywood Highsmith? We'll talk about that next year on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for the first year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, a member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. We'll be right back.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. The best way to support this show, like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app and show up to the watch party at the Taurus in Coconut Grove on Friday night. Heat Pacers, 8 p.m.
I'm
so exciting.
So forward to it. Absolutely. Just last time, it was such a great experience to talk to people, and you forget how much the show means to the people, because we're just talking basketball here. But so many people came up to us and said, I start my day with you. I go to the gym and listen to you. I'm driving to work and I listen to you. Like, just the fact that we are such a constant part of their lives. What an incredible thing to hear. And to meet these people in person. We rarely get that opportunity at games. You see them sometimes in the hallways. You see them sometimes around town. People who come up to us and tell us that they love this show, and to have them all there in one surrounding, a great place like Taurus, where they have these great drinks, great cheeseburgers apparently, and so much more. It's such a fantastic experience. So
French fries were good too.
I'm sure they are. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there on Friday. And you know what? Even though this season has been a little difficult, that doesn't mean we haven't gotten the support that we love from our fans. We
True.
know that you'll be there on Friday, and I'm counting on you all being there.
Not sure I've ever heard a better way to fish for a compliment than all the things you just said. Please come to the Taurus and tell us how much you mean to us. We can't wait
Yes.
to hear from you.
Yes, I need the boost. Give me
That's
some
that-
confidence. Yeah, just they like the Heat need to know how they can win. I need to hear how much we still
Right.
impact your lives.
Thanks to everybody who sent in the listener questions. You can send them in via the Locked On Heat Insider community. Link is in the show notes. Free for 14 days. Cancel it any time after that. Malachi, who has always been a Locked On Heat Insider, writes in. Do y'all think Coach Spo has finally found the right rotation after tonight's performance? I really loved how Spo went 10 deep. Finally got Haywood Highsmith some minutes. Are we qualifying this as 10 deep? Burks played like 5. Jaime played 8. So he experimented a little bit more, I think, to Malachi's point in the first half and sort of settled on guys in the second half. And that's a normal thing that coaches do. It's something that Spo got away from over these last couple of weeks. I understood the reasoning why, just trying to find some continuity post-trade. But I don't know if this is the right rotation because Nikola Jovic isn't a part of it. When he comes back, he's certainly going to be a part of it. But maybe he just gets those. Kyle Anderson only played less than 2 minutes. He had a quick hook on this one. I don't know. And we looked at the Haywood Highsmith numbers yesterday, David. And when you just look at the numbers, he's actually one of Miami's least productive players. But like the eye test, man, I mean, it just clicks when he's in there sometimes. So I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I feel like it's going to continue to change. Like on a night when Duncan's got it going like he does tonight, and you get such production from the starting group, you don't need to go to the bench to try and find something. But you're going to have to find a way of mixing these guys in there. Like I doubt that Slow-Mo is going to continue to just play 2 minutes moving forward. I don't think Jaime is going to be under 8 minutes. Terry's going to be back in at some point. Like he's giving him the extended break that he needs, but he's going to get some playing time. And Haywood's probably going to get the hook again if something goes wrong or he gets in foul trouble or who knows. And of course, there's always the unfortunate threat of injury. But I like the balance that he struck tonight, and it certainly worked. It's easy to say, based again on a big blowout win when they shoot as well as they do from 3-point range, that it worked out well. But I don't know that you're going to have that same recipe on Friday night against the Pacers and expect for it to work as well. So we'll see. We'll see what he does differently on Friday. I would expect Haywood has probably reinserted him to the starting line, and not in the starting line, reinserted into the rotation. But what that means for guys like Jaime, Slow-Mo, etc., like that remains to be seen. And if Duncan's not able to hit as many shots as he does today, does he go with Terry as the ersatz spark off the bench? It's always a possibility, and that's always something that Spo likes to keep in his back pocket in terms of having the options available to him. So we'll see how it plays out.
And sometimes it could be Burks too, right? I think.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wouldn't mind
No
at
doubt.
this stage where you're still trying to figure things out, doing what he did tonight. Let's throw them all out there in the first half, figure out who's got it, roll with who's got it in the second half. And it's a little bit messier. It's not as clean. Spo wants to be clean with his rotations, and I get that. But we don't really know who the best guys are. And Erik Spoelstra after the game said, I thought this was fascinating, that this is probably the most difficult thing that he's dealing with right now is who's in and who's out of the rotation, and admitted he's probably not always made the right decisions.
No doubt.
And I think that's growth, man. I don't know.
Any particular reason why you think Anderson didn't play more?
I don't know. I mean, he played 1 minute and 48 seconds and had one personal foul. So did he was it a bad foul and learned what the inside of the Erik Spoelstra's doghouse looked like after that? Was that it? It could have been. I mean, that could have been it.
It's unlikely, though. I mean, we've seen Anderson make those fouls before. Like his first game was not a good one with Miami, and he continues to get playing time since then. I don't know. I think it's just you go with Haywood. His shots falling, and I guess Spo made the right read in this case. And you kind of hope for that increased flexibility where you just, like you said, play the guys. If they've got it going, stick with them. If they don't, give them the hook and hope it's somebody else.
Let's be pretty quick with these last couple questions here. William B. writes in, this is an observation, not a question, but I'm impressed by Wiggins, how he draws fouls, how he runs the offense, his energy on defense, and when things slow down offensively, he'll get aggressive. No hesitation keeping the offensive energy flowing. The team's record doesn't reflect it, but I think he has been playing well since he came. How would you guys grade his performance and Mitchell's since coming to the Heat? going to hold off on grading these guys just because we're running out of time
Yes.
here, but I do agree. Very impressed by Wiggins, and I like the way he played against the Hawks. Really decisive in terms of like, oh, Trae Young's in front of me, I'm just going to attack him. And I thought he was really decisive in this game too, especially early on. Andres writes in, much needed win, but I couldn't help but wish that Jaime was also participating in the fun. What do you think is the biggest difference between his play this year compared to last season? Also, does Trae Young have the worst hair in the league?
Yes.
Might be time to call it.
Yes.
Dude. Might be time to call it. Join the
Grew the
Shakehead
beard
Club.
out. Oh, you want him to pull a Derek White? Give up the
Might be
ghost
time.
already and just say, just say, you know what? It's not
might be
working.
time. I got the bird's eye view tonight, David. Might be time. Antonio also writes in, what's the solution for Jaquez? Is it just a sophomore slump? I tend to think it is just a sophomore slump. I thought he was actually okay in those 7 or 8 minutes in the first half. I didn't think he was forcing it offensively as much as he usually does. Only had 2 shot attempts in that stretch. Do I have that right? Yeah, only had 2 shot attempts in that stretch. Did have a couple of turnovers that were bad.
Yeah.
But he was a +3, and I thought defensively he actually was about as good as I've seen him in a long time.
Moving well.
Moving
I
well.
think,
That's well. Good way to put that.
Injuries have sapped what's probably limited athleticism and explosiveness. And look, that's the knock on him coming out of college. He was a 4-year player, and he was a guy who was, a tweener for a reason. Like, oh, he's perfect for Heat culture. And with the right team, like last year, where you're top heavy, or you at least have your hierarchy clearly set with Jimmy Butler on the roster, a guy like Jaime to provide the occasional spark is fine. But eventually the rest of the league kind of figures out, okay, we know what the Rook can do. He's got that spin move. He goes downhill. He's always attacking. But if you don't have those counters, and he doesn't so far, and he doesn't have the kind of elite athleticism to be able to finish over players, it's going to continue to be something that other teams could scout easily and figure out.
And if that athleticism dips for whatever reason, and let's remember, he also started the year with a groin injury, and I just wonder if some of that is still lingering. It just feels like it's an on and off thing with him. And he's been dealing with like that lingering groin injury for basically his whole NBA career so far. And maybe that's just, I don't know. I have no reporting on that, just pure speculation. William B writes in, with the state of the team at this point, what position on the team is the team's greatest need to improve? I think it's point guard. Consistent point guard play.
Yeah, I mean, you add Wiggins, you've got other depth pieces there at the wings, so I think you're all set at the center spot now with Khalil, and now it's just and Bam, of course. You could always add more size. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a center who can space the floor, but you've also got Nico as part of the rotation, unless you move him this offseason. But otherwise, I think you're probably targeting a guard in the draft.
A Lamas writes in, should Duncan start over Mitchell? No. I don't think he should. You need Mitchell's defense in that starting lineup. That'll do it for us today. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app.